Last year, I made a video unboxing this Ender 3 S1 Pro, and although this served me pretty well, I had to see firsthand if the Bambu Lab hype was just that, hype, or if it was legit. Enter the Bambu Lab P1P, a stripped down version of the P1S, but still as fast and incredible as its more put together sibling. In this video, I want to take you through unboxing this machine, how to set it up, and finishing with some overall thoughts. So, stay tuned and check it out. Alright, so unboxing. This machine is packaged extremely well with plenty of bubble padding and styrofoam to ensure that this would be protected during shipping. Once you open up the top of the box and remove some of the packaging, you'll notice that the plastic wrap is taped to two of the flaps of the box with instructions to use this as a handle to lift the printer out of the box. Now, it might seem silly, but sometimes these small details tell you a lot about a company. If they took the time to highlight this little detail for unpackaging their item, you can assume they took the time to build a quality machine. And no, I'm not being paid to say this. Although. And here's a look at the rest of the packaging. Once I had the printer out of the box, I could cut away the plastic and start removing some of the other packaging material. Tucked in the middle of the printer is a box that contains a full spool of PLA filament, along with a few items that we'll need later for assembly and some spare parts. Now, all of this is labeled extremely well, so you won't have to guess which parts you'll need for assembly. They even include some additional parts for projects that are preloaded on the printer. There are a few other pieces of packaging we'll need to remove yet, but for now, let's move on to the assembly. With the printer turned around, now we're looking at the back side of it. We'll start by removing this single screw. With that out of the way, we can install the spool holder using the two screws labeled as such. Simply feed the Allen wrench through the spool holder and secure it in place. Super simple. Now panning up slightly, we can install the PTFE tube anchor using the designated screws. Now, this tube anchor does pivot, so don't over tighten these screws to prevent that from happening, if that's even possible. Now we can find the PTFE tube that's within the frame of the printer and install it. The one end goes into the PTFE tube anchor that we just installed, and the other end goes into the printer head itself. Simply push the PTFE tube into place and double check that it's secure by pulling back on it slightly. With the PTFE tube installed, we can turn the printer around again so we're looking at the front of it. Then remove the two styrofoam pieces on top of the build plate. The build plate is secured in place during shipment with these three screws. We'll use the provided Allen wrench to remove them. Moving up to the top, we'll remove the tape holding the micro SD card in place. I believe the preloaded projects are on this card. And if you take any time-lapse videos of prints, I think they're stored on this card as well, but I'm not positive. After removing the tape for the screen wiring, we'll remove the screen from the packaging and plug the cable into it. Note which way the cable lines up with the plug on the back of the screen. With it plugged in, bend the cable back on itself slightly, slide the hooks of the screen straight into the corresponding holes in the printer, and then slide the screen to the left until it snaps into place. Lastly, find the power cable from the accessory box, plug it in, and flip the switch on. Initially, I believe it will ask you to run through a self-calibration test, so just hit yes and watch as it runs through a bunch of different vibrations and calibrations to get this printer dialed in. This part took longer than assembling the machine itself, but you don't have to do anything other than removing the remaining styrofoam from under the print bed. Once the calibration is complete, you can load up some filament by feeding it through the PTFE tube and find load on the menu screen. With the filament loaded, you can either print a preloaded project from the screen or load your own file in and print it. I started with the bench sheet because, well, that's what you do, right? Now, while your first project is printing, I highly recommend downloading the Bambu Lab Handy app for your phone and Bambu Studio for your computer. This is the only way I send files to my printer. I don't even mess around with the SD card at all. To send files, you'll need to connect the printer to your Wi-Fi, so just FYI. Now, in full disclosure, I shot this footage a few months ago and my setup has changed quite a bit since then. I now have 6 3D printers sitting behind me, and I've made a separate video walking through how I set this print farm up in my office, so if that sounds interesting to you, check out this video. But let's finish up with my final thoughts, and I'll keep this brief. Now, as I said in my Ender 3 S1 Pro unboxing video, I like it when I can go from 0 to 1 as quickly as I can, just to get that quick win under my belt. I don't want to mess around with assembling all the belts and pulleys of a printer, I just want to start printing cool things. And although the Ender 3 S1 Pro had fairly minimal assembly required, this Bambu Lab P1P required even less. Bambu Lab boasts being able to unbox and print in just under 15 minutes, and I bet if I wasn't filming this, I would have achieved that. Now, I'm not going to go into all the numbers as far as print speed goes, that's a whole different video, but I will say this. The same piece that used to take my Ender 3 S1 Pro 5 hours to print now takes this P1P just 1 hour and 37 minutes to print. And in my opinion, the quality of print is noticeably better. Needless to say, the hype is real.